Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you to our next speaker, Frazier. Kai is an educator turned ed tech entrepreneur passionate about using tech to provide opportunities for underestimated communities. She is the founder and CEO of KaiXR, the most inclusive and accessible VR platform where kids can explore, dream, and create. Her company is backed by Techstars and T-Mobile and has been featured in Forbes, NBC, The Steve Harvey Show, and more. We're so excited to have you here with us today, Kai. So without further ado, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So, like you just said, my name is Kai Frazier. I am the founder and CEO of KaiXR. KaiXR is the most inclusive and accessible 360 and VR platform where kids can explore, dream, and create. Today, I'm going to share a bit about how my love of education led me to create a VR company. Mind you, I have absolutely no tech background. In fact, my degree is in history. But for context, I've worked as a history teacher for most of my career. Inside my classroom, I was often frustrated because one, we barely had access to tech as I worked in under-resourced schools. And two, our schools struggle to provide field trips for our students due to budget constraints. When you grow up like myself and a lot of the students I taught, there really isn't money for vacation. So school field trips are usually our only opportunity to explore the world outside of our neighborhoods. However, since 2010, 50% of kids no longer take field trips simply because their schools can't afford them. With COVID-19, all field trips came to a halt. This is unfortunate because when kids go on field trips, they are 95% more likely to graduate from high school. Kids that go on field trips see new ideas, sounds, locations, cultures, and that dramatically changes their outlook on life. When you ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up, they can usually only name about 5 professions. That's because students can't aspire to something if they don't know it exists. In my classroom, I saw no lack of genius, simply a lack of opportunities. So I took all of these life experiences and tried to brainstorm a way to give my students exposure to the world around them. I wanted them to learn in a way that didn't exclude them because they lacked resources and encourage them to dream bigger than their circumstances. So I began looking into VR to see if that could be an opportunity to close those gaps. I am a firm believer that if you want to solve big problems, you got to take some big risk. So to start my company and create that funding, I decided that I was going to quit my job. I sold my car. I sold just about everything I owned, and I used that money to make my company. So that first photo is my home, selling that one. The second photo is pretty much all I had when I started my computer, my laptop, a bin of clothes, and a cardboard headset. And then I moved across the country from Washington, D.C. to Oakland, California, so I could be in the backyard of Silicon Valley and learn all I could about tech very fast. And this is where I ended up creating KaiXR. KaiXR, once again, is the most inclusive and accessible 360 VR platform where kids can explore, dream, and create. We are a one-stop shop for those who are interested in learning more about VR. And that's because for a lot of our clients, we are their very first touch point to VR. On our Explore platform, students can improve their STEM skills by using 360 AR and VR technology while exploring the world with our virtual field trips. As soon as that headset goes on, doors are open and kids can explore the world. We have a wide selection of diverse experiences ranging from the Obama portraits to astronaut training. We work really hard to ensure that each KaiXR field trip comes complete with viewing guides and activities for kids. And just want to point out, I was really direct when I designed my company around accessibility. So even if you don't have a VR headset, you can still explore a virtual field trip on any device. Building a web-based platform was an extremely intentional business decision to include the millions of kids who are stuck in the digital divide because they don't have tech or maybe not Wi-Fi. That's what I saw in my classroom every day. Unfortunately, underserved communities are the last to know about new tech, but it doesn't have to be that way with conscious development decisions. Kids can use KaiXR on any smartphone using their cell phone signal in case they don't have a Wi-Fi connection. They can use a tablet. They can use their laptop. Of course, we love seeing kids fully immersed with VR headsets. So for smartphone users, they can pair their Android phone with a low-cost cardboard headset. And if they have an all-in-one headset like an Oculus Quest, they can experience our site the same way. So it's a WebXR platform. So just by going to the website, KaiXR.com, you can be connected to our experiences. But what about the content? What will students see when they look into the headset? It should be no surprise that there is a lack of diverse content in an emerging field such as mixed reality. I wanted students to see VR content as diverse as they are. That's why my company creates and curates inclusive VR experiences. The result is we have our kid-friendly catalog of 100+ virtual field trips. I'm going to go over a couple that my team, KaiXR, has created. One of our earliest VR experiences was to the Obama portraits at the Smithsonian Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. Here, students can visit the portraits of Michelle Obama and Barack Obama and also learn more about the artists that created them, Amy Sherrill and Kehinde Wiley. CRISPR is one of our VR productions we did last year where students get to meet female scientists leading a scientific breakthrough such as DNA editing. Students get to go behind the scenes and meet Jennifer Doudna. She just recently won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for CRISPR, and students get to learn how CRISPR is curing diseases right now. Our latest VR experience takes kids to visit the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. It's no secret that the Negro Leagues had some of the best talent in the game, but due to discrimination, they were denied opportunities. So we explored this history in this production. And something really cool that happened right after we filmed this is the major leagues decided that they would elevate the Negro Leagues to the major leagues, and they reset a lot of the statistics with this current event in history that just happened. At KaiXR, we are building tech for the world. So it's really important that we have diverse viewpoints to ensure our tech is serving our diverse audiences. Students are going to be the next generation of tech innovators, but for most kids, they don't even realize that's a possibility. They have a hard time comprehending that there are people behind the tech. For this reason, we help kids dream in VR. When kids go through our KaiXR dream courses, we remind kids to dream big. And when they have an idea, we tell them to dream bigger. And we encourage them to keep asking why. And most importantly, we teach them that it is okay to fail. Empowering students means celebrating their failures as we learn together. In our dream classes, kids learn about the basics of mixed reality. They discover the different ways VR is made. They get to see examples of mixed reality being used in the real world. Not only do they get to learn about different careers in mixed reality, they also get to hear from diverse tech professionals where they can ask questions about those career paths. And last, we go over design thinking as it's essential that we teach kids how to analyze real world problems while creating responsible tech solutions. We challenge students to design and present their ideas, which may be hard if this is their first time dabbling into tech. And that brings us to Create. Create is our maker space that KaiXR has in development right now. So kids can make their own VR adventures. Usually after a kid watches a VR field trip or they go through a dream course, the next question is, how can I make my very own VR? So we're really pleased to have this launched towards the end of this year where they can tinker in this maker space and learn to make their very own VR adventures, no coding required. So if you know of a person, a teacher, an organization that is interested in exploring, dreaming, and creating of KaiXR, this is all of my contact information. If I can ever be of assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I am so thankful for you all for having me today. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Kai, for your presentation.
Thank you for having me. Hey, Rachel, how are
Hey,
you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Well, can't complain. It's almost Friday, so I'm excited about that.
Yes, almost the weekend.
Yeah.
Huh? Well, thank you so much for your presentation today. I'd love to ask you a few questions, and just a reminder to our attendees, if you have any questions for Kai, go ahead and leave them in our Q&A or chat tab. First question for you, could you speak a little bit about the impact of the global pandemic on education? I mean, we know that with remote learning, there's been so many challenges for students all over the world. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about how KaiXR is maybe hoping to help bridge the learning loss or digital divide that we're seeing.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I started the company in 2018. So this is before we knew COVID was around the corner. And the main reason I started the company was just because with VR being such a powerful tool, I didn't feel much was being done for the really real accessibility issues that we see every single day in the classroom. For example, I always talk about my school's not having a lot of tech. So what that looked like is we had a bring your own device policy. So since we couldn't provide computers or tablets, we had to ask kids whatever they had at home, please bring it in and we can use cell phone signals. And that's how we did a lot of our tech. So my classroom is not unique. So we knew this was an issue. This was something that I was really hoping to see more of before COVID. When COVID hit, it put that digital divide and the homework gap, as people call it as well, front and center for everybody to really take account. So I am optimistic because I think this is probably the first time in education where we've had to really revisit the state of education and who's learning, how are we delivering educational products and things like that, and what can we do to help. So before COVID, years and years before, COVID, I knew which students were doing my homework in McDonald's parking lots for the Wi-Fi. It's not a secret. So we're seeing this in a larger scale with COVID for the world to see now. So I am optimistic, like I said, that we're going to see some big changes in education. I hope that the developer community is thinking about, the kids that do not have Wi-Fi in their schools and what does that look like, to really bring it down to perspective. A lot of my schools that I went and I visited in, they don't have heat in their school. So Wi-Fi is like way, a big reach for that. So thinking about opportunities for students like that. And I am looking forward to seeing what's on the horizon. And we're going to continue to do all we can to make our tech super inclusive and accessible for kids.
I love to hear that. And yeah, challenges ahead, but I think it's just so admirable that you are bringing VR and immersive experiences to schools, and just introducing students to these technologies is so important. We have a question from our attendees. Thomas is saying, "Hi Kai, thank you for
Hey,
your
Thomas.
presentation." He says, "I'm interested in the workflow of creating and submitting apps for Oculus. I am assuming KaiXR is available on the Quest."
Yeah, so KaiXR is, I'm going to say, available on the Quest and the air code. So we are a WebXR platform. So if you can go to the browser in the Oculus headset, you can just type in kaixr.com and you're there. So not the best answer, but we didn't have to submit anything because we are not an app on the platform. We are, like I said, you got a web browser, you will find us there. So I wanted to make that decision, in addition, just to make sure that, like I said, a lot of when we think VR and mixed reality, we always go to headsets. For a lot of our kids, especially our younger kids, that is not their first touch point, and a headset is very far from it. So that's why we're not primarily an app in the Oculus store, and just looking at some different ways that we can deliver the content to kids via the web. Sorry, that wasn't the best question.
No, I think that
I mean,
answer is
best answer for me. Sorry.
I think that answer is great because it just points to the accessibility of WebXR, and not having to like submit apps through the Oculus app developer process. I mean, it's just so open. Another question for you is about safety in VR.
Yeah.
I know there's the 13 years and above, safety warning for the Oculus headsets, for example. But what do you think about just in terms of younger children getting into VR and safety and all that? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I am a firm believer that a lot of the education solutions in VR are not going to come from the tech folks. And I mean that with all due respect. And I mean that because for a lot of kids, I think that there is a misconception on how kids get new tech and how they use it. From being in the classroom, one of my big pet peeves was I was teaching when social media and tech really became big in the classroom, and we made the mistake of just handing kids devices with no parameters. And that led to a lot of insane classroom challenges that we saw every single day that kids just were not prepared for. And nobody was talking to them about it. So this can be something as simple as online bullying, like doing it. So I'm having suspensions, expulsions, all type of things because nobody is talking to kids about digital etiquette and what does it take to be a digital citizen and things like this. And I bring this up because for safety in VR, we go straight to the VR headset. And I think that we have to really talk about what behavior should we be modeling and encouraging for kids in a digital environment, period, before they get to the headset to do that. And I think those are the conversations that we talk about all the time in education and teaching, but for tech, it's just like, here's the tech. For the younger kids, one of the things that we're probably going to really double down on over the years is being that first, what does it mean to be that first touch point to kids who are thinking about VR and taking them from a non-immersive lane and graduating them into an immersive type of experience. And that's where we see a lot. So we do a lot of the magic window mode for kids and talking about 90 degrees, 360 degree, 90, 180, 360. What does that mean? How can we incorporate into what they're already learning in a classroom? How do we get parents involved? Because they're going to be the ones to be there with the kids if the teachers are not there and they're going to be the safety people. And then of course we have, basic safety as far as, we have the kids sit down when they're doing the VR experiences. Ours are pretty much 360, so it's not too much walking around. So grounding them, and that keeps them safer. Our VR experiences that we have on average, they're all about 5 minutes or so on the site. That's because we want kids to come out of the headset or come out of the tech and talk to. We have viewing guides to go with it, so we can talk to kids before they go into the experience and put parameters about what they're talking about after, so we can encourage critical thinking. So those are all the things that go from safety education that I think that is lacking in the tech conversations about how do kids in the education systems actually use immersive tech.
Thank you for bringing that up because it's so true. There's safety in how we interact with each other online. And, children today, they're learning a lot of these things even before adults. And so many children in the classroom, they're kind of the ones who they'd have to deal with online bullying maybe before working professionals will be in remote collaboration to even know what that would be like. So we're really putting a lot on their plates. And that's such a good point about it's not just like safety inside of the headset, but how they interact with each other.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when kids are in school, we're helping them build their character. And I think for a lot of tech, there are a lot of doors you can open, and some, especially in these headsets, that there is no parameters for the kids, and they're going in there and just fine. And it's also, as far as the tech communities, what responsibility do we have to the kids, especially to the content? The amount of times that I see like really, really emotionally disturbing content with no context around it, and that's being made for kids is really alarming to me. And mind you, like my degree's in history. So I used to work with lots of historical violence. I used to work at the Holocaust Museum of genocide survivors. So I'm no stranger to historical violence. However, how you are a steward of that story and how you present it is really important.
Yeah, being stewards of this technology, that's something that KaiXR, I feel like you do so well, is providing that context for the experiences, and then also giving them the opportunity to create their own as well. We have a couple more questions for you. The next one is, with the limitations on bandwidth, how are you working around delivery of video content in classroom group settings?
Yeah, that is a challenge that we are working to improve every single day. So at the very least, we have kids using their cell phone signals. It may not be the clearest signal when streaming and things like that, but the fun thing about kids and younger kids is, like when I first started off, the clarity on watching YouTube 360 videos could drop to 480 level, and kids have a blast. They love it. Because I think we have a really kids have a different expectation of what to expect. This is their first time usually getting in this tech, so they're not looking for super clear clarity and things like that. So for us, that has not been the biggest problem. They are really happy just to hold tech in the classroom. You got to think that a lot of these kids are going from pencil and paper, and you give them tech, they are going to make it work. And it is like an excuse to really have fun with learning. So so that's just a caveat I put out there. We do aim to make the clarity and the streaming a lot better. So if they can connect to Wi-Fi, that's great. We do some bandwidth tests sometimes. We're working with large groups to see what's happening with the connectivity. And then we're partnering with T-Mobile to really utilize 5G technology too, to see how that can be a solution when we can't get this superior Wi-Fi signal. So lots of different answers, across the spectrum of what we see as far as connectivity in classrooms.
That's awesome about 5G and partnering with T-Mobile. That's exciting.
Yeah, they've been fun. They're really trying to dig into some immersive companies and see what that looks like as they go into a bigger 5G network.
Our next question for you is, have you experimented with social VR with kids? I know Rec Room and others are big with kids and have tons of issues on safety and privacy, but millions of users.
I know. I'm like, I'm trying to fix my face for this. I am very shell shocked when it comes to social VR, even for myself. And I have not been able at this point in time to really sit back and give it the thought that is needed, but that's going to come into our maker space. And that's why we haven't released that yet. I can tell you, I've been in social VR settings where my hard, fast rule is I do not go in social VR as a Black woman. I will be purple. I will be pink, blue. I do not do it. I've had too many bad interactions, and it's enough that I don't want to put the headset on again. So when that happens for me, I really have to first process that for myself, and then really think about what do I want kids to experience and where are those spaces. And I think, for social VR settings, it reminds me a lot about a playground, right? We don't put kids in the playground and run away and leave them on their own devices. We sit and we monitor them. It's really concerning to me that we're putting kids in a lot of these environments and there's no monitoring, and they are getting into. If we thought it was getting interesting with gaming, just regular 2D gaming, with 360 and VR, always getting really edgy fast. So until I can put some more thought, and that's going to come up this year of the makerspace, we don't do a lot with it unless we can control the environment. That may look like something like Mozilla Hubs, and we have our classroom in there with me or whatever educators in there with them, and we are modeling good behavior, how to talk to each other, things like that, and then letting them go on their own. And I think for a lot of kids, they just need parameters. If you clearly set the parameters out, most of them do a good job staying somewhere in those, maybe a little bit of the outskirts, but we're seeing some crazy stuff about those parameters, and that's what I want to really tackle.
Well, children and adults need rules and boundaries, so very understandable. Well, thank you so much, Kai, for being here for this live Q&A. That is all the time that we have, unfortunately, but thank you for answering our questions and for your presentation, and we so appreciate having you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Rachel. Talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye. So next on our agenda, folks, we have 30 minutes to explore our virtual IVRPA campus in Frame.